You mean to tell me these humans eat spicy food for fun? Commander TRX's voice crackled over the control room, his forearms gesticulating in disbelief. Around him, the officers of the Vork's Dominion fleet exchanged nervous glances. They were already on edge about this campaign, but this revelation sent an eerie chill through the room. The Vork's Dominion had ruled the galaxy unchallenged for centuries, systematically subjugating species who dared oppose their might. Until now, reports had begun to filter in about a backwater species from the Sol system, a race that had clawed its way out of their gravity well with sheer ingenuity and defiance of all logic. Humanity. The intelligence dossier was sparse. Their technology wasn't advanced, their physiology wasn't exceptional, and yet they had already annihilated 3 exploratory fleets. TRX wasn't worried. Yet. They were just another rebellious species, albeit one with an odd penchant for survival. The humans' refusal to negotiate and their proclivity for excessive violence was already infamous. The Dominion planned to crush them as it had countless others. But something about these humans was different. Deploy the shock troops, TRX ordered, his confidence tinged with impatience. Let's remind these primitives why the Dominion is supreme. The humans didn't wait for the Dominion to strike first. Before the landing pods even reached Earth's atmosphere, coordinated missiles, seemingly cobbled together with duct tape and audacity, shot from hidden silos. They didn't match the sleek, precise weaponry of the Dominion. They didn't need to. They simply worked. The pods carrying the shock troops spiraled out of control, slamming into the planet like meteors. Those that survived the landing found themselves in a nightmare. Human resistance forces, garbed in mismatched armor and wielding primitive projectile weapons, swarmed them like ants. Their tactics were brutal, unrelenting, and utterly alien to the Dominion's rigid, calculated strategies. Captain Vorin, leading a squad of Vork soldiers through the ruins of a human city, quickly realized that nothing here made sense. They don't retreat, he hissed into his communicator as his squad was pinned down by relentless gunfire. Even when they're outnumbered, they charge. A grenade arced through the air and landed near Vorin. His instincts kicked in, and he activated his energy shield. The explosion sent a shockwave through his defenses, but as he turned to regroup, a human leapt from the rubble and tackled him. The creature's strength was terrifying. Vorin struggled against it as the human jabbed a knife repeatedly into his shield generator. The shield sputtered and died. Vorin's last thought as the knife plunged into his chest was, "They look so fragile." Far above the carnage, Commander TRX was receiving updates from his officers, each one more baffling than the last. "The humans don't follow any predictable combat patterns, Commander," reported Lieutenant Zack. "They improvise constantly. Their strategies seem to be made up as they go." "What do you mean improvise?" TRX snapped. "Warfare is a science." "Not to them," Zack replied grimly. "They're treating it like art." TRX slammed a clawed fist onto the console. "Then outthink them. Deploy the mechs. I want this planet reduced to rubble within the hour." The Dominion's towering war machines descended from the fleet, their energy cannons scorching the earth. For a brief moment, it seemed the tide would turn. Entire human battalions were obliterated under the onslaught. But then the humans adapted. Again, they lured the mechs into urban centers, where the narrow streets and collapsed buildings restricted their movements. Small groups of soldiers, armed with nothing but explosives and an apparent death wish, clambered onto the machines and began dismantling them piece by piece. A single soldier on foot could never hope to stand against one of the Dominion's mechs. But a dozen working in concert, the machines fell, one after another, under the humans' relentless ingenuity. "How do they keep doing this?" TRX demanded, his frustration boiling over. "They're a Type 0 civilization. This shouldn't be possible." "Commander," Zack replied, his voice heavy with unease, "it's not just their weapons. It's their mindset. These humans fight like they have nothing to lose. Back on Earth, General Hayes stood amidst the rubble of what had once been a bustling metropolis. His uniform was torn, and his face was streaked with dirt and blood. Around him, the remnants of his forces prepared for yet another assault. There was no time to mourn the losses. Every man here knew that victory wasn't just about survival, it was about sending a message. "They think they can break us," Hayes said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of conviction. "They think we're just another species to dominate. But they don't understand what it means to be human." One of his soldiers, a younger man barely out of his teens, frowned. "Sir, what does it mean?" Hayes glanced at him, a faint smirk playing at his lips. "It means we'll win, not because we're smarter or stronger, but because we refuse to lose." The soldier nodded, gripping his rifle tighter. Around them, the others did the same. Hayes didn't need to say more. High above the battlefield, Commander TRX was struggling to maintain control. Reports of chaos streamed in from every corner of the planet. Entire platoons were vanishing without a trace. Supply lines were being sabotaged by human forces using tactics the Vorks had no answer for. Even the fleet in orbit wasn't safe. Human spacecraft, scrappy, poorly designed, and seemingly held together by sheer determination, were managing to outmaneuver and outgun the Dominion's advanced ships. "This is impossible," TRX roared, slamming a fist onto the armrest of his command chair. "They shouldn't be capable of this. They're nothing more than primitives." "Commander," an officer began hesitantly, "there's another factor we didn't account for." TRX glared at him. "What now?" "It's their spirit," the officer said, his voice almost apologetic. "Every time we think they've been beaten, they come back stronger. It's like they feed on adversity." TRX's mandibles clicked in frustration. "That's not a tactical advantage. That's nonsense. I want solutions, not superstitions." But even as he said it, he could feel the truth of the officer's words gnawing at him. The humans weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for something far more profound, an ideal, a belief that no matter how powerful the enemy, no matter how dire the odds, they would find a way to prevail. Down on the ground, the tide of battle had turned decisively in humanity's favor. The Dominion's forces were in full retreat, their once mighty war machines reduced to smoldering wreckage. In one corner of the battlefield, a group of human soldiers stood triumphantly atop the shattered remains of a Vorks mech, cheering and waving a tattered Earth flag. Among them was General Hayes, his expression grim but resolute. "This isn't over," he muttered to himself, staring up at the sky where the Dominion's fleet still loomed. "They'll be back, and we'll be ready." In orbit, Commander TRX watched in stunned silence as his fleet began to withdraw. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had forced the Dominion to retreat. His pride demanded retribution, but his instincts told him the cost would be too high. For the first time in his long career, TRX felt something he couldn't quite name. Was it fear? Respect? As the Vorks fleet disappeared into the void, Earth's defenders celebrated their hard-won victory. But they knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it was capable of. Now, they would have to prepare for what came next. Because out there among the stars, other eyes were watching. And not all of them would be as easily deterred as the Vorks.